WCBS News Time, 1:13. As journalists, we are taught, never make yourself the story. Today, we are the story. Our parent company, Audacy, announced today that WCBS 880 will cease to exist, and news programming will end as of 12:01 a.m. on Sunday, August 26th. It's a sad day in our WCBS newsroom, and joining me live on the air now, my first ever on-air partner when I first came to WCBS a bunch of years ago, Wayne Cabot. Wayne, I describe my reaction as shocked, but not necessarily surprised. What are your thoughts today?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm shocked or not surprised or surprised and not shocked. We all have seen the headwinds in the radio industry. We all knew what was happening with advertising going to digital. It's affecting radio, television, newspapers, old media. So we can be logical about it, and yet it's still a gut punch. When I started at the WCBS newsroom in 1988, I walked in there among a bunch of luminaries and legends and was sure I did not belong there and was waiting for them to tap me on the shoulder and say, "We made a mistake, you're fired." Well, this morning I finally got tapped on the shoulder, Steve. It took them 37 years, but I finally got that tap on the shoulder. And it's gratifying to have been part of a legendary radio station. I would say over the course of years, the best radio station in all of America. That touches people on so many levels, not just as a source of information and reliability, but companionship and warmth and family. For anyone who's listened, as I did as a kid, in the back of Dad's car or in the kitchen, and then working here and having friends here, it is an immense privilege that few people in this industry have ever experienced or ever will. So for that, I am immeasurably grateful.
You know, we think about the moments through the years, the big events. I mentioned earlier, Tom Kaminsky told the world about 9/11. And when Sandy left much of the area in the dark and knocked other radio stations off the air, somehow we stayed on, and people with transistor radios and those little crank radios from our crane were able to listen to us. And, I remember that we got letters and emails from people saying, "Man, I was scared, and you guys comforted me. You made me feel safe."
And, Steve, that's 100% true. And it's also true that even when things were not blowing up around us, even when there weren't catastrophes, even on just a regular day when it was an average news day, we still made that connection. And I'm gonna speaker here so I can read something. You mentioned the emails that we get, and I just got one from a listener in Connecticut, Nina, who is probably listening right now. She said, "You just heard Bridget make the announcement," and said, "I feel sick. I am close to tears at the thought. You have been in our house and home for so many years, been with me through so many changes, some good, some not so good, but always, whenever we were and whatever we were doing, you all were there. Familiar voices, inside jokes, empathy, and joy made us smile. Renewed hope, and as friends will do, stayed predictable and reliable." So, Steve, you've talked about being the source for news. Now everyone wonders, hey, what's your political point of view? Are you left? Are you right? Where are you coming from? What's your bias? What's your agenda? That wasn't a question we had to answer when we started, before everything went crazy in this information ecosystem that we're all part of. So I'm kind of glad that it's ending on that note. We can get out with a measure of respect, because it's becoming more and more difficult in this news environment, I am very unhappy to say.
Yeah, that's a lovely note that you just read there. And, a lot of us around here, we've kind of grown as family. I can't believe that your two kids are like full-fledged adults. How can that possibly be? Paul Murnane's daughter wasn't she just this tall a couple of weeks ago? Bridget's kids, Mike's kids. But I'm glad to hear you say, that somebody recognizes that we were kind of their family too. Because people have been nice enough to invite this radio station into their home for 57 years. And it's been a privilege. It really has.
My daughter was here when I got the news. We're on vacation right now in Cape Cod. I had my Bermuda shorts and flip-flops on. I was about to make a margarita when all of a sudden this happened. And my daughter was in tears. My wife's in tears. I'm still kind of in shock, to be honest with you. But my son had the best line of all. I said, Adam, since I was 14 years old, I wanted to work at this radio station with all these legends. I got my wish. I had my lifelong ambition. Now I get to turn the lights off. It's been a privilege. And he said, are you considering the fact that maybe you're the reason that the station has been driven into the ground? I said, well, I hadn't looked at it that way. Thank you.
Thanks, kid. Appreciate it. Wayne Cabot, a trusted voice on this radio station for so long, since 1988. Love you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Love you, Steve, and a big hug from afar. And here in Cape Cod, I'm going to keep listening to you because we come in like a local station. We almost made it to 100. You know that?
Almost.
September 20th, 1924 is when we signed on. We almost made it. That's a pretty good lifespan. I'm pleased.
All right, Wayne. Enjoy Cape Cod. Say hi to the family, and we'll talk soon.
All right, Steve.
WCBS anchor Wayne Cabot. Now WCBS traffic and weather together, another staple on this radio station for a very long time, sponsored by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Here is Jim Feldman.
Well, thanks, Steve, and you too as well. We are going to start in Jersey.
Sunshine in New York today, a comfortable day, 77 degrees, Monday, August 12th. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Scott. This is On the Record, and it's 1:31 at WCBS. This is a story that we would certainly rather not be reporting. Today, our parent company, Audacy, announced the end of news on WCBS 880, effective August 26th at 12:01 a.m. The current WCBS All News format will be replaced with All Sports ESPN radio. It will mean the end of the WCBS AM call letters, pending FCC approval. There are new call letters for the frequency coming in a couple weeks. This is obviously a very sad day in our newsroom, but we do take solace that we have much to be proud of. Think of the many memorable events from the past 57 years that you've heard on WCBS. You think of the people, the Charlie Osgoods and Jim Donnellys and Lou Adlers, and the Wayne Cabots, the Paul Murnanes, the Bridget Quinns, the Mike Wallaces, Levon Putney, Tanya Hansen, so many others. All of our reporters. Don't have time to name them all here, but they've been heroes on this radio station, often running into the news while others are running for safety. And we can't forget the people behind the scenes, the newsroom staff, the people who take in feeds, the people who are producers, who put the shows together, the engineers who keep us on the air, and yes, the managers as well. You don't hear their names on the air, but without them, there would be no WCBS. We will broadcast a live commemorative special, WCBS 880 News, the people, the moments, and the events that shaped our lives on August 22nd from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. And we invite you to stay with us for the next couple weeks. We will be remembering the more than 57-year history of WCBS News Radio 880, or News 88, as some of you may remember, for the next 2 weeks. 78 now in New York, 2:03 at WCBS, and we begin this hour with a news story that we certainly wish we did not have to report. Today, our parent company, Audacy, announced the end of news on the 880 AM frequency, effective August 26th at 12:01 a.m. News on WCBS 880 is going away. The current all-news format will be replaced with All Sports ESPN Radio. WCBS AM's call letters will also be retired, pending approval from the FCC. I spoke last hour with my friend, longtime colleague of 20 years or so, morning anchor Wayne Cabot.
So we can be logical about it, and yet it's still a gut punch. When I started at the WCBS newsroom in 1988, I walked in there among a bunch of luminaries and legends and was sure I did not belong there, and was waiting for them to tap me on the shoulder and say, "We made a mistake, you're fired." Well, this morning I finally got tapped on the shoulder, Steve. It took them 37 years, but I finally got that tap on the shoulder. And it's gratifying to have been part of a legendary radio station. I would say over the course of years, the best radio station in all of America. That touches people on so many levels, not just as a source of information and reliability, but companionship and warmth and family for anyone who's listened as I did as a kid in the back of Dad's car or in the kitchen and then working here and having friends here. It is an immense privilege that few people in this industry have ever experienced or ever will. So for that, I am immeasurably grateful.
Think about it. Wayne Cabot has worked at WCBS as an anchor for 37 years, more than half of the station's 57 years as an all-news station. We will broadcast a live commemorative special, WCBS 880 News, the people, the moments, and the events that shaped our lives, August 22nd from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m., and we do invite you to stay with us over these last 2 weeks of news on WCBS 880.